Hey there, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about roses again because I love this subject so much, but also because I've had a lot of questions this week from customers who have a very small yard or just a balcony, and they really think that they can't grow roses. Well, let me dispel that right now because there's a whole bunch of roses you can grow in containers, and you can have all the roses for cut flowers and fragrance and beauty that you want. But you need to stick to the right roses, and let me tell you what they are. But first, what I want to say is if you look on the internet, there's all kinds of things on there. I was just double checking something earlier today, just wanted to make sure I was on the right track with a particular rose, and I Googled growing roses in containers. They pretty much listed every single one. And technically that is true, but make your life simple. Do not grow a Cecile Brunner climbing rose in a container. Those guys get as big as a bus, as big as a house, and you're going to need a container to suit that. Same thing, I saw a Banksia rose, a Lady Banks rose, in a container. At least an article saying you could grow it in a container. Yes, technically you could, but that container would have to be huge to support the massive growth. So what I'm going to talk about today are a whole bunch of fabulous roses you can grow in a container that is a reasonable size, that works on a patio, that works on a balcony or a deck or a small yard. So stay tuned. I'm going to tell you all about the hybrid teas you can grow in a container, the floribundas, the David Austins even. So let's get going. First off, let's talk about containers for your rose. I am being practical here. We all know how big a balcony is. We all know the size of a deck. Well, decks can be all sorts of sizes, but we know a reasonable container needs to be something you can move around if you need to. So I'm choosing roses today that would fit in a nice container, maybe 20 inches wide, maybe 24 inches wide, same kind of depth. What you're going to want to do once you've found that beautiful container is fill it up with excellent potting soil and some rose fertilizer. That's going to get your rose off to a fabulous start. So I figured to start with, we'll talk about a couple of really great hybrid tea roses that give you an incredible bang for your buck, even in a container. This one right here would be so perfect for so many of the roses I just mentioned. Can't you just imagine one of those pink roses? Oh, or the Roald Dahl. That would be gorgeous. Desdemona would be spectacular. Anyway, but this is the kind of size you're looking for. This square pot here would be absolutely perfect for any of those little miniatures I was talking about. Just the right size. Their root systems don't grow that big either, so they can go in a smaller pot. They could probably even go in a little bit smaller than this, but they'd be really happy long term in something like this size, which I gotta say is about 16, 18 inches across. This big pot right here, it's about 24 inches across, really nice and deep. You could do any of them in this gorgeous Italian pot. Any of those container roses that I told you about, any of the tree roses I told you about, this would be spectacular. These guys right here, fabulous for any of the drift roses or the minis. This is the one I want to start with. Now, we are the first week of March, so of course my roses here at Cottage Gardens are not blooming yet, but I do have a great selection for you, especially for containers and for the landscape and for all kinds of things. And I wanted to start with Yves Piaget because it's one of my favorite roses. Each rose is held above the foliage. It's pink. It looks like somebody's taken a crimping shears to the petals. It's fragrant. It is absolutely gorgeous. And it's a really great hybrid tea rose for containers. Now it grows to about 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, beautiful growth habit, beautiful dark green glossy foliage, beautiful nice strong stems, and the blooms themselves are absolutely to die for. You can use them for cutting or just leave them out there on your deck or patio and just admire them from a little further afar. In a container, of course, you're going to want to take care of that rose as if it was in your garden. Make sure it's getting watered. Make sure it drains properly. Make sure you feed it regularly because you're basically holding that rose captive in the container. That goes for every single one of the roses I'm going to tell you about today. But just keep it in mind. Good drainage, good soil to start with, regular feeding, keep an eye on the bugs, regular water. Ask me questions. If I've left anything out, you just ask me a question. I'm happy to answer it for you. So Yves Piaget, had to start with that one. Okay, one more I got to show you here in this particular area. It's a pretty new rose to me, but it's called Living the Dream. It is really exciting, very exuberant looking, just multicolored rose. It's so charming. It's absolutely charming. Also fragrant, and it grows to about 3 to 4 feet again, spreads a little bit wider, and it's also an absolutely fabulous container choice. One thing I forgot to mention when I started talking about Yves Piaget is full sun is best. And that's even more important in a container, just because you're already stressing it out ever so slightly by having it in a container. So full sun is a really big deal. Some of the David Austins can do with a little bit less sun, but if you've got a sunny 4 to 6 hours of sun or 6 to 8 hours of sun on your deck, patio, or small yard, that's where you need to put your container full of gorgeous roses. Here we're on our way to Double Delight, one of my favorites and one of everybody else's favorites too. Super fragrant, very charming to look at, and a really great hybrid tea for containers. Come on over this way. Double Delight grows 3 to 5 feet maybe. You can prune it pretty hard to keep it down a little bit more, but it is really well known as a great container rose. If you've never grown a Double Delight before, you have missing out on that fragrance. It's a beautiful fragrance. And so many people have such fond memories of their mothers growing Double Delight that it's one of my favorite roses to talk about. When a customer comes in, there's always a really great story to share. And that's a little aside here. That's one of the great things about gardening, loving roses, is all the stories that we share with each other in really simple interactions. So you get yourself a Double Delight. You're going to have a lot to talk about. It makes a great cut rose. It's very fragrant. It's a fabulous hybrid tea for containers. Okay, now let's talk about floribundas. Now, if you need a little reminder about what a floribunda is as opposed to a hybrid tea, hybrid teas tend to grow one gorgeous bloom at the end of one stem. They're your cut flowers that you see in the store. They're, you know, one beautiful bud, one beautiful bloom at the end of one long stem. Floribundas, on the other hand, grow a whole cluster of buds and blooms at the end of a stem. They're just spectacular, and they make just as good a cut flower as any of the hybrid teas. It's just all the buds may not be opening at the exact same time together, and some people don't particularly care for that. I don't care. If it's the right color, I pick it. It makes it into my house, and I love them. So let me talk about the best container choices when we're talking about floribundas. I'm going to start with Julia Child. That's a fabulous rose. It's disease resistant. It is golden yellow, absolutely gorgeous. It's a nice compact rose. It grows just 2 to 3 feet tall, maybe a tiny bit wider, covered with clusters of gorgeous golden yellow roses. A little bit of a fragrance, to a strong fragrance, depending on how much sun you're growing it in. And it's just tough as nails. And as you can see, I swear I saw a bud on one of these guys already. And here we are, just the first week of March. Absolutely amazing. So Julia Child, my #1 pick for a floribunda for a container. For another really great container choice in the whole floribunda world, Bolero. You get huge, really fragrant roses that this one says smells like lemon, verbena, freshness, whatever that is. Anyway, it is the most incredible fragrance. I still remember last summer's fragrance from the bolero that we grew, and it is absolutely amazing. It's a really nice, compact rose bush, very disease resistant, full of flowers, and they are stunning. This is perfect if you love white in your garden, and I really love having pops of white in the garden. It kind of calms things down, and I know people who only grow white everything in their garden. Well, bolero is the one for you. If you're limited to container rose growing, bolero is an amazing, gorgeous white rose. Now for a contrast, let's go to deep, deep orange and ginger snap rose. Again, I really wish these were blooming. I cannot wait for you to see them when they're actually blooming. But right now I'm super excited about these, and I'm actually looking for a rose for myself because I'm sort of out of space to plant another rose, and I really want one more. And I've found my deck has empty spaces, and I think I'm going to do it. Anyway, ginger snap is what we're going to talk about right now. I had to narrow my favorite choices for containers down to 3. Otherwise, I would have made a really long video. Ginger snap had to get there on that list. This is a very disease-resistant rose, great foliage, loves the heat. So if you have a hot spot, ginger snap's the way to go. Nice, compact, rounded bush, beautiful, hot orange blooms. Now, this fragrance is not as intense as most of the other roses I've been talking about today, but the blooms make it so, so worth it. So ginger snap. All right, let's talk about other types of roses you can grow in a container. Seriously, you can probably grow almost any of the tree roses in a container, which is great. The rootstock is somewhat limited. The top is going to do its own thing anyway, but you still want to have a fairly big container for that. And the choices are pretty endless in the tree roses. So, tree roses, but then you have that big long stalk and your color all up here. So you're going to want to find some really great contrasting colors to plant underneath, which is fun. That's always really fun. Pink rose, white trailing plants underneath, or pink rose and pink trailing plants underneath. I don't know. You pick that one. But let's go look at the David Austins. There are David Austins that are absolutely perfect for containers. Most of the David Austins get big and billowy and want some space, but I've chosen 3 great David Austins that are not only fragrant, but they are perfect container choices. Let's go check them out. My top pick, and the one I'm going to bring home, is Desdemona. This David Austin rose is just stunning. It is so fragrant, so perfect. It's white with a kind of a creamy undertone on the center petals, and it's just amazing. I love the name too. So for the David Austin roses, this is one of the ones that's more on the compact size side, will work well in a container, but I'm just going to be on the safe side and get a larger container rather than try to squish it into anything small. Of course, even in the 5-gallon cans, it's going to give lots of blooms. It's going to be gorgeous this year, but in the long term, that's kind of hard to maintain the health and the vigor of any self-respecting rose in a container as small as a 5-gallon can. So I'm going to start out getting one at least twice as wide, at least half again as deep, and I am going to grow me a Desdemona this year in a container. You know, I'm going to have to mention Gabriel Oak. It's been said to be a really good container rose. I already have it in the landscape. It looks rather large already, but it is, what's really nice about it, it tends not to send out big arching canes. It stays, I don't even know how to put it. I wouldn't call it compact because it's around 4 feet, but it doesn't send off a big branch going that way and another one going that way. It is not Gertrude Jekyll. But so Gabriel Oak in a large container would work pretty well. That's not the one I was going to tell you about though. Here's what I was looking for. This is Roald Dahl. Now, there's so many great things to say about the Roald Dahl rose. I don't even quite know where to start, except let's start with the fragrance. I love the fragrance. It's medium, kind of fruity, tea-ish. It's just a lovely, clean, beautiful fragrance. But it's not the only beautiful thing about it. The petals are cupped in this lovely way. It's just, there's a clarity to the yellow that goes into making up the Roald Dahl bloom that is really, really nice. There's more to it though. It's one of the David Austin roses that has fewer thorns, making it an extra good one for a deck or a patio or some small yard where you might be inclined to brush up against it. You're not going to get all tangled up like you would with a Gertrude Jekyll, for example. That one is thorny. So well worth it, but thorny. So Roald Dahl has a lot going for it. And it is on the moor. It grows in a tidy fashion, gets about 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. You prune it a little harder in the winter to keep it contained in your container, and you're going to be just thrilled with the Roald Dahl David Austin rose. And finally, Olivia Rose Austin. Clear, beautiful, gorgeous, nicely cupped, nicely quartered pink blooms on this one. A lovely, moderately fruity scent, but it is just such a lovely rose. Grows in a nice, tidy fashion, great container choice. And believe me, the David Austin roses do want to get, they're really happy in our Zone 9B climate. Really, really happy in Petaluma. More than anywhere else I've ever seen, to be quite honest. Even she is well behaved in a container. So Olivia Rose Austin is a lovely choice if you're looking for that nice, clean pink for your container choice. I can imagine it in a white pot. It would look really, really good in just straight terracotta, incredibly elegant. It's a beautiful rose. Beautiful, beautiful rose. Great choice for a container. And next, we're just going to go talk about the ground covers and the drift roses. They're a very low growing type of rose that are going to spill right out of your container and give a whole other look entirely that is very, very attractive. Most of the ground cover roses don't really have much of a scent. The drift roses neither, but they're super easy to take care of and just low maintenance as can be. So let's go have a look real quick. I almost forgot about the miniature roses. Miniature roses are so ideal for containers. I guess it just felt like a no-brainer for me that I forgot to mention them earlier. But there's some really adorable choices. For the most part, there's not much of a scent to any of them, but the little blooms are fabulous. They're about, most of them are like half-size blooms. They're incredibly floriferous roses. And if you have one of those little containers, 18 inches or something, these miniature roses are absolutely perfect. I think my favorite one of these, we've planted it out over in one of our beds. It's called Life's Little Pleasures. It's a strange name, but it's a very fully double, gorgeous pink rose. And it is such a good performer. It's unbelievable. The other one I really adore is Coffee Bean. It's a real dark, dark, smoky red. They're my two favorite of the minis, the patio roses. But yeah, we're on our way to the ground covers and drifts. Okay, so I'm in the area where all the ground covers and the low maintenance drift roses are. They are all so good in a container. They're nice and low. They'll spill out over the edges. Now, for the most part, there's not much of a fragrance, but they are disease resistant as can be and so easy to take care of. Like you almost just shear them back and they're gonna burst right back with tons of new foliage and tons of new blooms for you. Just like any other rose, they're gonna want regular water, good drainage, and to be fed. Just like any other roses, they're gonna want to be in full sun, as much sun as you can possibly give them. They're gonna want regular water, excellent drainage in their container, and regular feeding, because they're gonna be pushing out all this growth, all those blooms for you. You want to support them and make sure they have all the nutrients they need so that they can do that for you. Of the drift roses, I think my favorite is the peach drift. I just love the fact that it's kind of multicolored. I really like that one. But away from the drifts and onto another kind of ground cover rose, Rainbow Happy Trails. Super charming. The name is really adorable too. And just the color, it's just very, very, makes you smile, as you can see. And there you go. I really hope that was helpful. I hope you feel confident to go out and pick out a rose for your own container, for your own balcony, deck, patio. And if you have any questions, of course, drop me a comment. Let me know if you've got any roses that you've grown a container and had incredible success with. I also want to know that. But yeah, don't forget, full sun, excellent potting soil to start with, good drainage, vital, the right rose for the right container, and regular watering here in Zone 9B, Northern California. And there you go. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I love when people share their stories, so do tell me all about the successes you've had with container grown roses. Drop me a comment with any questions. Best thing ever is when you come on in and visit and share your stories personally. I absolutely love that. But I've been having such a good time with the comments I've been getting over the previous few videos. It's really fun. I love it. I really appreciate you all, and I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. So follow me on Facebook, Instagram, drop me comments, write me an email, come visit me. But the most important thing is go outside and garden. We live in a magical part of the world with the best climate ever. We can do so, so much. And being in nature and being around plants is so good for you. It makes you happy. Nothing like seeing the first rosebud appear on a rose bush, really, truly, or watching a hummingbird resting in the plants, or watching some other bird fly over. Honestly, so good being outdoors, you need to do more of it. Okay, everybody, till next time, happy gardening.